It doesn't start with betrayal. It doesn't start with heartbreak. It starts much earlier, in a place you probably don't even remember clearly. You say you want love, you crave it even. You imagine what it would feel like to finally be seen, to be chosen, to be safe with someone. But then something strange happens. The moment someone actually gets close, something inside you shifts. You pull back, you hesitate, you overthink, and suddenly the very thing you wanted feels dangerous. Why? Why does love feel like something you have to prepare for, control, or even escape from? Pause for a second and really ask yourself this. Have you ever found yourself pushing someone away, not because they hurt you, but because they got too close? Have you ever doubted someone's intentions, even when they showed up consistently? Have you ever felt safer being alone than being loved? If that's you, then listen carefully, because this isn't about trust issues. Not really. This goes deeper than that. This is about survival. Somewhere in your childhood, your brain learned a quiet, powerful lesson. Love is not safe, not stable, not guaranteed. Maybe it came in the form of inconsistency, a parent who was warm one day and distant the next. Maybe it was emotional absence, being physically present but never truly seen. Or maybe love came with conditions. You were only accepted when you behaved, achieved, or stayed quiet. And without realizing it, your mind adapted. Because as a child, you don't question love, you adapt to it. You don't say, this environment is unstable. You say, I need to become someone who survives this. So you became hyper-aware. You started reading moods, tones, silences. You learned when to speak and when to disappear. You learned that closeness could turn into distance without warning, that warmth could vanish, that safety could shift. And that's where the pattern begins. Your nervous system doesn't care about logic. It cares about familiarity. So now, as an adult, when someone offers you something calm, stable, consistent, your system doesn't recognize it as safe. It recognizes it as unfamiliar. And unfamiliar feels dangerous. So you create distance, not consciously, not intentionally, but instinctively. You might call it losing feelings. You might call it needing space. You might even convince yourself that something is wrong with the other person. But what if nothing is wrong with them? What if your reaction isn't about them at all? What if it's about a version of you that had to learn love in a completely different way? Think about it. When love feels unpredictable, you learn to stay alert. When connection feels unstable, you learn to stay guarded. When closeness feels like it can disappear at any moment, you stop fully stepping into it. You protect yourself before anything even happens. And here's the hardest part to accept. That protection once saved you, but now it's isolating you. So let me ask you something honestly. Are you afraid of being hurt, or are you afraid of being seen? Because those are not the same thing, and the answer might change everything you believe about yourself. If this is already hitting something deep inside you, don't just sit with it silently. Drop a comment. Tell me, have you ever felt this push and pull inside your own relationships? Because what we're about to uncover next goes even deeper than this surface pattern.
Now here's where it gets even more unsettling. Because what you experience in relationships today isn't random. It follows a pattern your mind learned long before you ever understood what love was supposed to feel like. Psychologists call this attachment, but not the kind people casually talk about. This is deeper. This is the invisible blueprint that shapes how you connect, how you react, how you love, and how you protect yourself from it. If you grew up in an environment where love felt inconsistent, your system adapted in one of two ways. You either learn to chase it or you learn to avoid it. And sometimes you learn both. Let's slow this down for a moment. Have you ever felt anxious when someone takes too long to reply? Your mind starts racing. Did I do something wrong? Are they losing interest? Should I say something? Should I pull back? That's not overthinking.
That's your nervous system trying to restore connection before it disappears. But then, the moment they come closer, the moment they show consistency, care, real presence, something else activates. You feel suffocated. You start noticing flaws. You feel the urge to withdraw. You tell yourself you need space. And suddenly, the same connection you were craving feels overwhelming. Why does that happen? Because your system isn't wired for stable love. It's wired for survival inside unstable love. So when things are uncertain, you lean in. When things become real, you step back. This push and pull isn't confusion, it's conditioning. And the most dangerous part? You start building an identity around it. You tell yourself, I'm just bad at relationships. I lose feelings quickly. I can't trust people. But what if that's not who you are? What if that's just how you learn to stay safe? Because here's the truth most people never realize. Your brain doesn't try to make you happy. It tries to make you familiar, even if that familiarity is painful. So if chaos felt normal in your childhood, calm will feel wrong in your adulthood. If love once came with unpredictability, stability will feel boring, even suspicious. And without realizing it, you'll start recreating the same emotional environment again and again. Different people, same patterns. Different faces, same ending. You'll be drawn to emotionally unavailable people because they feel familiar. You'll feel uncomfortable with emotionally available ones because they don't. And slowly, quietly, you'll begin to believe something is wrong with you. But pause. Look at this from a different angle. What if your reactions make perfect sense given what you've been through? What if the distance you create isn't a flaw, but a defense? What if your fear of closeness isn't weakness, but memory? Because that's what trauma does. It doesn't always show up as pain. Sometimes it shows up as patterns. Patterns that look like personality. Patterns that feel like truth. But they're not. They're learned. And anything learned can be unlearned. But before we even talk about changing it, you have to see it clearly. So let me ask you something again. And this time, be brutally honest with yourself. In your relationships, are you reacting to the person in front of you, or are you reacting to a version of love you experienced years ago? Because if you don't separate the two, you'll keep living the same story, just with different characters. And in the next part, we're going to go deeper into something most people avoid their entire lives. Not fixing, not blaming, but facing. Because the real reason you struggle with trust isn't what you think it is. So what is the real reason? It's not that you can't trust people. It's that a part of you still doesn't feel safe being close to them. And that part isn't your adult self. It's the version of you that learned very early on that closeness can hurt. The version of you that reached out and wasn't met, that needed comfort and didn't receive it, that tried to express something real and felt ignored, dismissed, or misunderstood. That version of you didn't disappear. It adapted. It learned to stay guarded, to not need too much, to not expect too much, to not rely too deeply on anyone, because relying once didn't feel safe. And now, every time someone tries to get close to you, that same part wakes up again, not to ruin things, but to protect you. This is why you might overanalyze simple interactions, why a small shift in tone feels like a warning sign, why you struggle to fully relax in love, even when nothing is technically wrong, because your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. And here's the truth most people avoid. You don't heal this by finding the right person. You don't heal this by forcing yourself to trust more, and you definitely don't heal this by ignoring what you feel. You heal this by turning toward it, by finally asking yourself the question you've been avoiding your entire life. What did I need back then that I never received? Was it consistency? Was it reassurance? Was it emotional safety? Was it someone to simply say, I'm here, you're not alone? Sit with that. Don't rush past it. Don't intellectualize it. Feel it. because that unmet need is still shaping how you show up today. And this is where everything begins to change. Not when you fix yourself, not when you become better at relationships, but when you stop abandoning yourself in the same way you were once abandoned. When you stop telling yourself, "I'm too much," when you stop minimizing your own needs, when you stop confusing distance with strength, and instead, you start doing something radically different. You stay. You stay with your emotions instead of running from them. You stay with your discomfort instead of numbing it. You stay with yourself, even when it feels unfamiliar. That is what safety actually looks like. Not perfection, not control, but presence. And slowly, very slowly, your system begins to learn something new. That closeness doesn't always lead to pain. That consistency doesn't always disappear. That love doesn't always have to be earned through suffering. But this takes time. There will be moments where you fall back into old patterns, where you feel the urge to pull away, to shut down, to protect. That's okay. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're in the process of rewriting something that's been with you for years. So be patient with yourself. And more importantly, be honest with yourself. Because the goal isn't to become someone new. It's to finally become someone who feels safe being who they already are. Now I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually answer it, not just think about it. When love starts to feel real, what do? Do you lean in, or do you slowly start to disappear? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And if this made you see yourself a little more clearly, don't forget to like this video because it helps this reach someone else who might need to hear it. And if you're ready to go deeper into this kind of psychology, stay here, because the next video might just explain the part of you you've never been able to put into words.